Hi, so as requested, here's a video guide on vibrato. I know I have a few vibrato videos already, but there could never be enough vibrato videos, right? Because I have a few vibrato videos already, I'm gonna try a different approach. So let's try to view vibrato from more of a mechanical point of view. When you vibrato, you're really just copying a singer's, you're trying to copy a singer's vibrato with your finger, right? So the sound waves that you produce from your violin has to be similar to a voice singing. So like when you hear a singer use vibrato, they're like like that. So in order to produce a sound that's similar to that, you have to move your fingers in the same way. So the waves are going up and down. So your fingers have to do the same. When I'm pressing down my finger onto a note, I have to move the note lower and higher. So it never goes higher than lower. It always goes lower than higher. So if I play a C sharp, I have to go downwards first and then go back to a C sharp. So generally a good idea of measurement of how wide you should do it is half step. So if you play a C sharp, you want to roll your finger down to a C natural and then back to a C sharp. In general, this is very, very general. So let me show you C sharp. And then you want to roll your finger down to a C natural, right? So there are a few ways you can think about doing this. Like if I just move my finger like this, I'm going to lose my spot. So you almost have to roll your finger so that you can hang on to the spot that you're on. So when you first start, you can put your finger like standing up, and then make sure that it actually rolls. Like if I roll my finger, I actually retain my position. Like even if I leave, I can come back, right? I know that no matter what, I'll always retain that position because it's a roll. So vibrato is sort of gaining control over this movement or this mechanic. It's not something that you will be able to master. Like you might not get the sound that you expect very quickly. So you should think of it as a long-term project when you are practicing vibrato. So what matters is the pitch matters a lot. The speed of it matters a lot, right? And the evenness matters. The speed of it, the pitch or wideness, and the evenness matters. So you can actually be uneven when you're vibratoing. So you can be like, or you want it to be even. And then the speed is how fast it goes. So like if I go slowly, it of course it naturally sounds like a practice vibrato, right? And then like as it goes faster, it sounds like more like a real vibrato. And then what did I say? The speed, the pitch, and the evenness. Evenness I just showed you. So the more you gain control over these things, the more your vibrato will sound good. The problem is like by itself, thinking about all of these things, it's already very complex, and you need to do this on top of playing your piece. So that's why a lot of teachers will recommend don't do vibrato until later on when you're more familiar with playing other stuff, just so that your brain can have more like CPU to handle doing multiple things at once. For example, like if you are maybe just already struggling with notes and think about adding vibrato to the mix, that could be very complicated and mess you up. So that aside, I think it's possible to do vibrato, to like develop doing vibrato like while you learn your piece as well. It's possible if you're determined enough and you like it enough and you are aware of how much multitasking that you have to do, then I say sure, go ahead. But the most important thing is that you are aware of how much multitasking that you have to do to put everything into the mix. And then, so in order to gain control over all this stuff, some of the things you might run into are like, one of the most confusing things to people is like, how do you do that roll? Because there's so many factors that go into doing the roll. So like I'm just calling it the vibrato roll because it's a roll. You don't want to move your finger like this because you'll lose your spot, right? When you always want it to be a roll. So the first thing I notice with some people is that they get confused like what direction to roll actually, because if when you're new, like it's like 360. You don't know which direction to roll. The key, I think, is to follow the direction of your string. Follow the direction of your string. You see, like if you put your hand here, it's coming at an angle. Your hand is coming at an angle. So when you roll your finger, I'm not actually feeling like, it doesn't actually feel like just an up and down. It feels like slanted. If I follow the string upwards exactly, it's actually slanted. See? But that is actually the direction that you want to go. You want to go along with the string. So it could feel like I'm bending my hand at an angle. Like it's not really an up or down. Like it's easy to call it up or down because I think most people just say up or down because the pitch goes up and the pitch goes down, and it's easier to go like up is this way, down is this way. But you see, it is an angle. That's the first thing. A lot of people actually in the beginning they try to do it left and right, and it's difficult for them to do it. I wouldn't call it up and down, but you know what I mean. Like it's an angle. So the first thing you should try to do is gain control over this. And then what you have to check is that you're actually going low enough, like when you roll your fingers. That's my dog digging onto my bed. That's the first problem that you have to overcome. So what happens when you first start to do this is that obviously you're not going to have control over that. So your hand might not allow you to do it. So you have to like manually focus your brain on your hand to see if it's doing what you need it to do. So you have to check, like almost have a checklist of what you're doing. Like are you rolling your finger, or is it moving like different spots, or are you rolling your finger? Are you actually rolling your finger, and are you gonna stay on the same spot? Are you controlling it even? Are you changing the pitch low enough? This one is a difficult one because a lot of people don't realize that when they roll their vibrato downwards, they're not going low enough. It's easy to miss. It's very easy to miss. Like, it feels ridiculous when it's slow. Like, I'm rolling all the way to a half step lower. It's very, very easy to miss that. If you are really unsure and you need complete assurance, you can get like a tuner app or a tuner website and actually look at the pitch. And it will say C sharp. And then when you roll down, like it will actually go towards C natural. For example, it's really important to make sure that you can do a wide enough vibrato because vibrato tends to get less wide the more you concentrate on playing other stuff, and the piece gets more intense, and you're just distracted by a lot of other things. It becomes less wide. So you need to consciously keep the vibrato wide. See, it's less wide even when I'm just playing. It gets less wide the more intense things get. So you need to make sure that your vibrato is wide enough. So that's more important. That's very important. I think that's even more important than keeping it even, actually. It's more important than keeping it even. And what did I say the three things were? It's wide enough, it's even, and the pitch. Oh, the pitch and the wide is the same thing. Oh, and it's fast enough. It's fast enough. The fast enough isn't as much of a problem because slow vibrato. I mean, it doesn't sound. You can change around the pitch of the vibrato, and it's more interpretive. But a not wide enough vibrato is almost no vibrato, right? And about when I say control, you need to have control over the vibrato so that it doesn't turn into a spaz. And when you lose control, it can get too fast and too not wide, and it becomes a spaz. Like, and then the other thing that happens is like the left and right direction. It becomes almost no vibrato as well. That's another thing. So in the beginning, you have to check all these things. Like if everything is happening, then you can give up the speed. You can sacrifice speed, but make sure everything else is happening correctly. And then slowly you can use a metronome, turn on a metronome, and slowly make it faster. So for metronome, I will show you an example. So right now I'm going to just Google search metronome, and I'm gonna just use whatever Google has. So it's clicking right now, and I'm gonna just follow along with the clicks. This might be hard for some people in the beginning as well, but I'll just show you what people typically are doing when they're working with metronome, right? So for every click, I want to be at a different spot. So if I go back to C sharp and then C, I'm gonna do C sharp on one click, and then the next click is C natural. So of course, the faster it is, the harder it will be for you to control that. So what you want to do is you want to eventually gain control over a faster speed. So you can turn slower the metronome until you feel like you can control the timing. Like whenever the metronome clicks, you're on the opposite end that where you need to be. And then you can slowly increase the speed until you're fast enough. And this isn't something that you should expect to master in even just a few days. Like it should be like your mentality should be a long-term improvement of your vibrato sound. All right. So what else is there for vibrato? Oh yeah, the actual movement for the vibrato. So there are many ways to actually move your finger in that rolling movement. There are many different ways. People like to separate it into wrist vibrato and arm vibrato. However, there are even in-betweens as well. So it could be not just wrist, it could be not just your arm, it could be everything in between. It could be a combination of your wrist and your arm that you're using to get the vibrato wave going. So I think it also depends on each person's individual unique hand shape and hand size. So there's a lot of variables as well. So for me, I usually like to use more my wrist as a default, but sometimes I do need to use my arm. So here's using my wrist. My arm's not moving, and it's just my wrist moving. Basically, you can only see my hand. It almost feels for my first finger. It almost feels like my hand. It's my wrist. And for pinky, it doesn't work as well for my hand, so I have to use my arm. Here's my arm. See, my whole arm is moving now. So arm actually works better for my pinky because I have a weak pinky, small hand. But I can also do arm for my other fingers too. See, now I'm moving my entire arm. That's my entire arm. Pinky. I could go more in depth with like what to use, but generally, I find that faster, more intense pieces seems to work better. Like sometimes I feel the need to use my arm. It's kind of hard to explain. Sometimes I feel the need to use my arm, but for now, all you need to do is to get the vibrato wave going in the beginning. That's all you need to do. So, one more time. B and B flat. C sharp C. D and D flat, or D and C sharp. Need my arm. I think that's all I have to say for a beginner learning how to vibrato for the first time, or someone who's been playing for a little while and who's interested in getting into vibratoing. Not sure if I missed anything. If I did, please leave me a comment, and I hope this was helpful. Have a nice day.